Good morning. First is patent. So, a patent is a right given by the government to an inventor so others cannot copy their invention for a certain time. So, ang example nito is if someone invents a new type of phone charger, they get a patent. So, no other company can sell the same design without a permission to your invention. So, a patent also requires the inventor to share how the invention works with the public. For example, is a scientist explain how their new medicine works so others can learn from it, even if they cannot copy it. Second is trademark. A trademark is a name, logo, or symbol that helps people recognize a product or business. Sa trademark, ang best example is the Nike. So, it helps the logo people to know the shoes from the Nike. And it helps the customer how where a product or service came from. And sa services is, for example, sa McDonald's. If you see a McDonald's golden arc, you know it's from the McDonald's. Third is protection of the undisclosed information. Companies protect important secrets so others cannot use them. For example, company keeps secret recipe hidden from the competitors, from its rival. And employees often sign agreements to keep information private. For example, a worker sign NDA so they cannot share the company's secrets with others. Next is trade secret. A trade secret is any information that gives a business an advantage. For example, a special recipe or formula that only once a company knows. It can include formulas, processes, or designs. For examples, unique software code that makes an app faster than others, rivals, or other competitors. And example of trade secrets is famous companies have secret formulas. Example, Coca-Cola. So keep its drink formula secret. There are two only people that knew the Coca-Cola recipe. Other companies protect their recipe too. Example, KFC. Its fried chicken recipe confidential. Next is intellectual property. An intellectual property refers to a creation made by a human mind. So for example nito is writing a story or inventing a machine or designing a logo. It includes ideas, invention, and creative works. For example, a student creating an original painting, or artist create a masterpiece art. And next is intellectual property rights or IPR. So ang IPR is a legal rights that protect a person's creations. So ang example nito is artist owns the rights to their artwork or the paintings. So these rights allow creators to control how their work is used. For example, a musician decides how can use their songs. And next is copyright and related rights. Ang copyright is it gives creators control over their original work. For example, a writer owns the rights to their book or to their journals. Others cannot copy or use the work without their permissions from the owner. For example, is you cannot repost someone's video without asking them to repost it. Next is digital rights management or DRM. Ang DRM is used to control how digital content is used. For example, a movie you buy online cannot be shared freely with others. It limits what users can do with purchased content. For example, you cannot copy a paid ebook and send it to relatives or friends. Next is scale. A technology allows content to be shared faster and no more people. For example, anime episodes now get subtitles within hours instead of days. People can access global content easily. For example, watching Korean dramas online with instant English subtitles or Chinese subtitles. Next is volume. There is a huge amount of information available today. For example, many news websites publish articles every day, every minute, or every seconds. News is available in both in print and online. So sa Philippines is meron tayong Philippine Star has both a printed newspaper and a website that you can visit online. Next is unprecedented individual empowerment. Social media allows people to share anything online. For example, a person can post their opinion on Facebook anytime. So this can create issues with the controlling content. So, for example nito is kanang false informations. False information can spread quickly on social media without knowing it.
Good day everyone, especially to you sir. Today, I will discuss the information privacy in the digital age. So I explained that the privacy is not just about keeping secrets, but about controlling how our personal data is collected and shared, managing your privacy. So, and I want to emphasize that the digital data is designed to be copied and stored easily. Because of this, there is a risk that without protection, our data can be accessed without permission. For example, hackers. So they can steal our personal information if accounts are not properly secured. So that's why they have tendency to hack our personal information and use for other platforms. Next, the social media paradox. So I explained that many users tend to overshare personal information online. For example, people post their problems, locations, or personal life details on Facebook or other platforms of social media. So, and I also explained that the difference between personal choice and data privacy system. For example, posting your birthday is your choice. Muna siya part na siya sa personal choice. And but how platforms store and use that is the data is part of the data privacy. Next, what corporations know. So I explained that the companies collected different types of users data. For example, website can detect your IP address, browser, and device type. And they also gather information about your device and network. Example, your phone model, your sa imong model sa cellphone and internet provider can be tracked. Matrack sa nila. Next, tracking risks, IPs, and cookies. I explained that the IP address can be used to identity and user's location. For example, a website can detect what city you are and based on your IP address, so you can easily be detected. And ang cookies is small files that store browsing data. Cookies remember your login details so you don't need to log in again if you forgot your password. However, cookies can also store sensitive information. For example, say password or browsing history can be accessed if not cleared. So this become risky when using public computers. Next, the Trojan horse or Trojan horse of third-party apps. So this is how some apps trick users into giving access to personal data. Once these apps can collect a lot of personal information. So this shows how quickly data can be collected from many users. And next is the security protocols for individuals. So this is how focuses on how individuals can protect their data. For example, only sharing information with trusted websites helps reduce risk. So, ano siya? This is important to avoid logging in on public networks. Laging-laging ka sa mga computers in public. So, users should always log out of their accounts, and we should also avoid giving access to unknown apps. So, do not allow random quiz apps to connect to your social media. And next is the Legal Protection Data Privacy Act. So, in this act, I explained that the Philippines has a law that protects personal data. So, other companies are required to secure user information under this law. So, it also defines sensitive personal information. For example, health records, IDs, and personal background details are protected. So, this act is under na si ani. Mo na sila mag-protect ana. So, next is, when is data processing allowed? So, explain that processing personal data is generally restricted. Restricted Japon na siya. So, however, there are certain conditions where it is allowed. If the user gives consent or if it is required by law. Ano siya? Next is incident versus breach. So, the difference between a security incident and data breach. So, for example, sa data breach, a suspicious login attempt and a security incident. So, a data breach is when data is actually exposed or stolen. More na siya sa data breach. Example, when hackers leak personal information online, it becomes a data breach. So, parte gyapon na sa data breach di ay. Next is the case study, the 2016 Comelec hack. So, I discuss a real life example of a data breach in the Philippines. Kani real life ni siya. Example, kuha mo gini diri sa tuwang sa noon man gini siya diri sa tuwang sa atong bansa. Kaya minani ng mga issues. Kaning millions of voters records were leaked in the Comelec hacking incident. So this case shows how serious data protection is. Its organization can face penalties and legal consequences for negligence. And I explained that the privacy is not only about technology but also about our behavior. Example is being careful about what we share online helps protect. That's all about my topic. Thank you.